セガサターンシロ
What's up? Oh, hands? Are we doing jazz hands? Welcome to the SHIRO show.
Welcome, everybody.
How's it going? All three of us together. What do you know?
I know.
Pat doesn't have to do the show by himself.
Bye.
I'm surprised he didn't just go on a vinyl joint last week and just like play.
Chat.
Oh yeah. Sorry, Pat. I'm sorry to leave you high and dry last week.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think both Dan and I ended up having to bail on it, right?
Well,
yeah, I mean, I was in voice chat.
Oh, you were in voice chat. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't like feeling too hot, but like I still tried to lend my support to Pat. Unlike you, Dave.
I was completely gone. Yeah, no, I didn't. Completely gone. I apologize, but hey, we're here now, so that's all that matters, right? Yeah. How have you been? How you guys been?
Been good.
Trying to find Dan's cam so I can fix it.
Got some games I've been playing too that somebody mentioned in the chat already.
Yeah?
Like what?
Like what?
The super message.
Oh, right. Okay, budget or buttery, right?
Yeah, thank you to Wiener Bob.
Thanks, Wiener Bob, for that.
So you said heresy or buttery, Warhammer 40k Space Marine 2. Well, what do you say, Pat?
Definitely heresy if you play towards the half of the latter half of the game. Very heresy.
Oh boy, okay.
Very nice heresy.
It goes over my head. I really don't couldn't make heads or tails of that question.
Oh, but basically there's this thing in Warhammer 40k is if you're not with the Imperium of Man, like this giant blueberry space marines and their forces, you're a heretic. Or Xenos, which is like an alien race.
Xenos is also a German man.
Yes.
Who is in our community.
And he's very interactive.
Very interactive.
Yes. Jinx, you owe me. Okay, I owe you a soda.
I got you first.
Analog Black Sheep, Sega, Wiener Bob, Saturn, Neil Henderson, SHIRO. They've got the every week, you must play Sega Saturn. We got Christian Marte, Captain Hawden. Everybody doing my job again. Like, subscribe, comment down below, all that bullshit.
Dislike our video, send death.
Dislike our video. We got 34 people in chat.
Don't do that last part.
Please give us a thumbs up. Please share it out. Do all that wonderful stuff that helps us grow as a show and a community. Tales of Saturn, how's it going? Pudgy Bunny, Startup Sound. I like that one. Startup Sound. That's a new one for me. Wiener Bob, of course. Thanks, Wiener Bob, for the $1.99. I could buy steak and eggs back in the early 90s with a $1.99. No, I don't. I'd be surprised if I could get a steak tomato for a $1.99. Dragons of Saturn.
All inflation.
No, but in all seriousness, we appreciate any financial contribution. We really do. Paul Bort, Alex, who else did I? Lee, Toast with the Most, David Zaney, Raiden. How's it going? Two Bjorn, Malenko's here, Moose Tracks here, Slow Coin, Sega Steve, Gopster, Notorious VDP, Dan the Mega Driver from the Sega guys is here, our SHIRO bro.
Never heard of him.
Phil Mason, Bo Bales, and Eddie G. Hey Eddie G, how's it going,
Welcome
guys?
In, everybody. Thanks for watching.
Everybody, thank you for the show.
I kind of like to, read off people's names when they first get here. That way, the folks who show up early, the early birds, they get their name read off. Yeah,
get a little shout out.
They get a shout out. Hey Eli, awesome. Welcome to the chat.
Shouts out.
So yeah, let's do some updates. What do you start with you, Dan? What have you been up to this week?
We did get a pickup this week. Not a Saturn game, but somewhat tangentially Sega related. It wasn't developed by Sega, but we got fitness boxing featuring Hatsune Miku.
Nice.
Hatsune Miku, of course, is often associated with Sega. This is developed by Imagineer and published by Axis. They do all those fitness boxing games.
The same guys that did the Fist of the North Star one, right?
Yes.
You said she's associated with Sega, but is she not? Was she not like developed by Sega?
No. Krypton.
Okay.
Krypton. Yeah. So yeah, Krypton made the Vocaloid software, and they created Hatsune Miku to be like the mascot of that voice software.
Right.
And then she kind of took off with kind of like a life of her own.
Right.
But yeah, Sega does make
Nintendo.
all of the rhythm music games, which this is like almost kind of like a music rhythm game,
Right.
just with punching instead of pressing a button on your controller. I did try it out once. She's used it a couple times. We just got it a few days ago. It is fun. It's cool.
That's
It has a
awesome.
lot of good music in it.
Thanks, Malenko.
It does count how many
$2.99.
calories you burn. Yeah.
Shout
thanks,
to Bo
Malenko.
Bales. Shadow
Wow.
Mask. Shout to Malenko.
Yeah. $2.99, $2 respectively. Thank you both.
These
you
names,
a lot.
these are all big names. These are the folks who make our community go round and round. Yeah,
Which
so
we
we
have to thank
appreciate
Malenko
all
for.
these people.
Because we do have an announcement that Malenko did for all
It's
our
one,
patrons.
it's
do.
one big circle
True.
jerk. No, I'm just kidding.
And,
but-
I'm on both sides.
And yeah, Pat's on both sides. Anything else, Dan? Though, like this week, what have you been watching? What have you been
I've
playing?
been watching Guardians games and getting angry at them.
Oh, okay.
Could you
yeah.
be watching
Oh, they
Browns
swept the
games?
Tigers, but or everybody sure.
No.
Oh, no, it's not the Tigers, the White Sox, but everybody sweeps the White Sox.
Should
'cause they're terrible.
sweep the White Sox. Yeah. If you're not winning to the White Sox, then you're really doing something wrong. But I'm totally with you, Dan. Like the Padres have been frustrating lately, losing several games that they should win, and
It's like when they're really good, and you know they can be better, and so it feels like every loss is just bigger. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
Baseball
But you-
season has been abandoned for me since football has started.
Well,
I'm
you
so
should be
sorry.
excited, Pat, because you're ahead of the Padres now in the running,
Dang.
in the standings. Yeah, you're
Diamondbacks.
number two.
I'm already moved on to the Cardinals and the Bears.
I mean, the Diamondbacks have been neck and neck with the Padres all season. They're literally that good, and they just have to get better than the Dodgers, and that's a tall order because the Dodgers have led all season. But the Diamondbacks are a really good team, so they have just as much chance at the postseason as we do. So we'll see. Pudgy Bunny said $1.99 for the circle jerk. Okay,
Wow.
so this is getting
It's turning into
it's getting a little
spicy
steamy.
in chat.
Hot
Pat,
and heavy in this
okay,
chat.
Pat, what's up with you this week?
All right, so I actually got a pickup. I got a new watch.
Ooh,
No.
another new watch. Is this a Casio? Timex?
Technically, I bought this like 2 months ago, but because I messed up on the shipping, so it's from Japan, and I put in the shipping. I thought it was EMS, but I misclicked, and it was the cargo ship. What's a 2 month
Oh no,
shipping?
the
So I
slow
misread
boat.
2 weeks,
Yeah.
2
Oh
months,
no.
and I was like, oh cool.
Okay, hold it
Thank
up to
you.
the camera so we can
So
see.
yeah, I got it. It's a very
Oh wow. What
interesting watch.
kind of display is that? Is it like a
It's LED. It's LED.
LED? Oh okay.
LCD.
Oh, is it one of those night glow things? Oh, that's
I don't
cool.
know. It's really cool. This is it actually is from a certain game. I don't know if anybody knows what it's from, but it's actually made for well, technically it's a movie. It was actually this one.
Oh, Final Fantasy. Wait, was that the Spirits Within?
Yeah, you know the lady that had the watch, the watch in her hands.
It had a watch in
I
it.
haven't watched that movie in 20 years,
Seriously,
so no, I don't remember
seriously,
that.
I have not. I've
She had
not.
this thing called a hollow watch. It's like
Yeah.
it's
Okay.
able to tell spiritual energy or some dumb
Captain
bullshit
Hawden,
like that.
thanks for the $3. Wants in on the action. And
Well,
at
you're
this
in on the
point,
action now.
his $3 trumps like all those other. So I
We're
mean,
gonna have to
Yeah,
give
by
it
He's in the
some
lead.
pickings. But yeah, no, it's a really cool watch. It's pretty bulky though. Look how bulky this thing is.
that
It's
is pretty bulky.
on the wrist. So it's probably my bulkiest watch. It also has a neat feature where you hit the light button and it makes a sound. Let's see if you can hear it. Can you guys hear it at all, or it's like a high pitched whine?
I think that it's
No.
gating. I think it's getting noise gated.
It's probably gating,
out.
but
Yeah.
there's a slight high pitched whine to it, but it's really cool. I got it for quite a little bit of money because it was like boxed and everything. It was like
Well,
pretty
yeah,
much
no
brand
kidding.
new.
And then you had to unbox it.
I had to, but it was
That
like,
movie
I mean,
was such a disappointment. Let me tell you. Like I don't. I mean, like I like it for what it is, but at the time, all I wanted was like a Final Fantasy VII film, And then
Yeah,
they
you just
gave.
wanted to see Cloud and Tifa.
Right,
and
exactly. They gave
children.
us the Spirits Within thing, and I'm just like, what the hell is this? As
and then it bombed horrendously.
oh my god, yeah. But Donald Sutherland was in it, and he was pretty good.
R.I.P.
Oh yes,
He died recently. I remember.
exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, but no, it's.
So, do you
yeah,
have
no,
anything else,
it's-
Pat?
Oh no, I was just gonna say I was playing Space Marine 2 as well. Playing Space Marine 2. Everyone's been talking about it in the chat on on the SHIRO General, so I was really happy about that. I flexed all my Warhammer dollies in the chat, so that was kind of fun.
Yeah. Oh man, some of those Warhammer paintings that you've done look impeccable. Like you shared one. You shared a larger. What was that? Well, that one that was really large and it had just a ton of. You really put a ton of work into it.
Oh, the Demon Prince.
Yes,
the
that one.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah, that one looked amazing. I was like, wow, hats on. You've graduated to a higher tier of realism on
artiste.
You're getting to be an artiste.
Yeah, it's really cool. I've been really enjoying it. I'm painting up my demons right now. Those are been the hardest part, but I've been really enjoying it. Been playing Space Marine 2 with my friends, so I've been taking a little break from Warhammer Tabletop to play that. It's been a lot of fun, actually. I've been having a lot of fun watching that, or playing that. Highly recommend people play Space Marine 2 if you can. It's like a third-person action game. It's a lot of fun, though. I like it. The only thing, though, is that if you're not really into 40k, it's going to be kind of a hard sell.
Yeah.
But it seems like people that are into 40k are really enjoying it, so... Like, what do you guys think?
Like yourself?
Yeah. Exactly.
What do we think?
Like, people in the chat, and a lot of people in the SHIRO thing play it, so...
Yeah, I mean, if I had a whole bunch of extra time, it seems the whole 40k stuff is deep. It seems like you could go pretty deep into it.
It is. It's a lot of fun though.
I enjoyed I enjoyed the podcast you did with Dan on that. By the way, shout out to Dan the Mega Driver and Trainoco did a great talk about 40k and Warhammer, and go check that out if. Like you guys dumped a ton of information on us too, you know. So there's you guys covered like every aspect of it. So yeah, really cool.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, no, it was a lot of fun to do. I love talking Warhammer with them, especially with an authentic British person. So that's usually the best.
Authentic British people.
Exactly.
Love it. Can't make this up.
Because Warhammer is so like unapologetically British, even though I play it. It's funny. I've been playing the game in German too, so it's like. It's gotten to like another level because the game's already Germanic and like very, Germanic inspired. So having to speak German makes it even more like on point. So it was a lot of fun though.
When you say Germanic, you mean kind of like Prussian,
like Gothic,
like Gothic. Oh, okay.
It's like a very Gothic-esque setting. So
I see. Okay. Yeah, I got you.
But it's really good. I really enjoyed it. So definitely. Recommend people play that game. You don't have to play it in German like I do. I just do it because I want to learn German better. So I want to learn German gooder.
Any music pickups? Anything like that?
Nothing.
No, nothing.
I did pre-order. I don't know if you know what what's the band? I think it's called Boa. They did that album Duvet.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And that song from SHIRO Experiments Lane. They actually repressed their soundtrack on their first album on vinyl with that song from SHIRO Experiments Lane. So. I'm excited to pick that up. I don't know when it's coming out. Hopefully this month. Mergutur, yeah. But I'm really excited to pick that up. And once I pick that up, I'll show it off on the show.
Nice.
It's a really good album. Definitely recommend people check it out. It's by the band Boa. I think that's how you pronounce it. They did the intro to Serial Experiments Lane, the anime. So if you guys ever watched that one,
yeah,
it's that intro. So
I haven't seen that one actually.
It's really good. I recommend people watch it. There's actually a funny video online that someone shared because of 9/11, where apparently when Lane was being aired on TV, it was during 9/11, so PBS had like contractually had to play it. So there's a video VHS recording of Lane playing on the top. It's like everyone at PBS sends their sincere condolences to the victims of 9/11.
They had like a message at the bottom of the screen.
On the top, it was like, and if you want to donate, go donate here to this address or whatever. It's pretty funny.
Awkward.
Or pretty awkward, it's pretty eerie. Like if you watch it, I'll put it in the chat. But yeah, besides that, that's about it. What about you, Mr. Dave?
What shirt are you wearing, by the way, Pat? I just wanted to. Pink Floyd. Oh, okay. Oh, I see. Okay, cool. Nice. That's got the.
What shirt are you wearing, Dave? I don't see anything Sega Saturn related on it.
I'm basically wearing your shirt, but without a logo on it. Just a blue shirt.
Well, the logo makes all the difference.
I know, right? That's that famous Kohl's. You got that one off Kohl's, right? Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Kohl's Saturn.
They still have them. Folks need to like go grab them while they still exist, you know? So yeah, it's like, where are you going to get a completely like official licensed, Saturn shirt or whatever? Aside
from Japan, because they are on Play Asia, and I'm so tempted to import a couple of those.
Yeah, but it's a good shirt. It's held up. mine's held
Yeah.
up, so it's a good shirt, well worth the
Yep.
I don't know, 15 or 17 bucks, whatever it was.
Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I need to get a new
so
shirt.
yeah, I wasn't on the show last week. Been really, really busy. Frankly, I've been spending a lot of time with the kids, which has been fun. Jesse started fall ball, and I've been taking him to his practices, and that's pretty exciting for him, and it's fun for me to watch. Been any free time I've gotten, I've been working on the PRGE panel presentation, trying to make sure that we don't sound like idiots up there, and make sure that we have
That's half the fun.
yeah, I mean, that'll be half the fun, but I think we're gonna have a really fun panel that's gonna be worth the folks who make it over to our room. I know we're going up against the Video Game History Foundation, so it's a tall order, but I think that it's gonna be a very Sega focused. We're going to be talking about how Sega was a company that was just too far ahead of their time, and how they contributed so many innovations to gaming, many that weren't necessarily ready for prime time, but left ripples in the industry and caused other folks to kind of succeed after them, but there's so many innovations in the short period of time, especially when you consider what a short time they really existed, as a hardware manufacturer. They innovated so much, so it's going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of fun. And aside from that, I binged. Have you guys watched Don Machi, or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon? Okay, so
No.
I came for the silly localized name. I thought it sounded
I
funny.
bet you came for that.
No way now.
I appreciate that, Pat. I knew that you would make that joke, but I stayed for what turned out to be a really good anime. So it starts out as a very like tongue-in-cheek, lighthearted, fan service waifu anime, and
Catchy.
yes. And then by like the third or fourth season, it goes so hard, and it's Pat's gonna make another joke about that, but it gets super serious.
I mean,
it's like,
you make the jokes for me.
okay, I make the joke. I know I put my foot in my mouth, but no, like so I started watching it just kind of because I wanted something to watch, and by the fourth season, it's completely done away with that like titty waifu thing, and it's just
really?
it's just a seriously like good anime with a lot of violence and a lot of like a lot of cool like story points, a lot of cool characters. But yeah, so it's called Don Machi, or is it wrong to pick up girls in a dungeon?
I think that's on High Dive, isn't it?
It's on
I think I
High
saw
Dive.
that.
It's on Crunchyroll. Like 2 seasons of it are on Crunchyroll. There's a few different places you can get it. But yeah,
on
no.
High
So yeah, it turned out to be really, really good. So I can't wait to watch the 5th season, which is I guess premiering sometime this fall. It's like everything's premiering in the fall.
You should check out Dungeon Meshi after that. Or the
Yeah, have you watch it?
Yeah, I haven't, and I am looking. I am looking
It's
for
good. That's on Netflix.
new animes. Okay, that's cool. Then yeah, I'll definitely check that out.
That one's
Also,
really good. I enjoyed that one. As someone that like cooking, I really enjoyed that one.
I picked up this Lost in Cult book about handhelds, and I pre-ordered the one on consoles. A lot of folks have gotten theirs already because they I don't know, pre-ordered through.
Yeah, you might want to cancel that console one. I've heard bad things about the Saturn.
Yes, and actually, I'm
we
thinking
kind
I
of
might return this
Tom
one as
Chama.
well. I'm thinking
Oh,
I might.
really? Why's that?
I'm thinking I might return the handheld one as well because, frankly, it's just so Nintendo focused, and Sega
gross.
to some degree. But even that is like, it's not. I just don't feel like it's very thorough. I feel like it's very much just kind of like, I mean, it does have like the Tiger R Zone and stuff like that, but I mean, it starts with like, it doesn't talk about anything that came out in the 70s. It doesn't talk about like, I don't know. I just feel like I feel like it's having some misinformation, and then also not as thorough as I would have liked it to be. But I don't want to like, tell people that they shouldn't get it. I don't want to like go on the air officially saying,
I'm sure that.
But I'm thinking of returning it. Yeah, just today, James was sharing an excerpt from the console book that just came out that I have on pre-order, and it made the same age-old mistake of talking about the Saturn in terms of the VDP. I think one of the VDPs being added at the last minute. which of course
Yeah.
we know by now is that's a stop the presses kind of situation. Like we've been disseminating the new information over the past couple years that's not the case. And I mean, when did what was it? When did those Hideki
Saito make those
Sato made those remarks like I think it was like 2018.
He did it a few years ago, but I don't think it actually was like translated into English for the Western world until last year, was it?
Pretty much.
Right.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we knew about it till last year.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess so. But if you're doing a book where you're researching console history and stuff like that, then you're online researching, and you would probably dig up those sources. Like those articles and interviews were up on what was it, Sega 16, and the other site, Mega. What's that other site?
Megavisions.
Megavisions. Yeah, I think they were up on there for like a while before we like regurgitated that stuff, and shared it. So I mean, I think that, yeah, I think they just need to. I think they need to issue like a revision or something. They're gonna at least need to do like a revision. But
Pat does that all the time. Like literally
sure.
for the Nintendo book that he does. Literally, version 1 is like completely different than the newest version that you can buy now. Like, because I think he removed like all the reviews by whoever he was collaborating for before, the dude with that controversy thing. I don't know what it was, but yeah, like the books do that all the time. So they could easily fix that. But I think my favorite thing about that is the awesome interview by Tom Chamok of the Dreamcast Junkyard.
Mm-hmm.
That's my favorite part of that book.
Yeah,
for people that don't know, they spelt his name wrong. It's Tom Charnock.
Right.
But they had an M instead.
Oh, okay. So they got his name wrong too. The thing is, there are some good forwards in here, but the rest of it, like the formatting and stuff like that, is very Wikipedia-esque, and it's just so it kind of like it. I kind of just don't. I feel like I don't need it because it's not doing. Because I already know a lot of the information. I would buy something like this more for like the design layout and stuff like that, and what it does kind of special, And instead, it's just a lot of photos with a lot of information that's formatted in kind of like a very much like a
sort of dry.
Yeah, in a very dry way. And that's not the case with all of these kind of projects. Like you look at Jeremy Parish's stuff, it's not only aesthetic, but he's putting in a lot of his own, a lot of his own 2 cents and a lot of his own impressions from a lot of the games. So yeah, anyway,
from playing them himself.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I'm going to keep that pre-order, but I also did.
There's a Moose Track said, why do people want to be so hard to be expert in something like they're forcing themselves to write these books?
Right.
People are just for money. Actually, my teacher had an analogy that he always said, just because you write a book for it doesn't mean that you're an expert. Like he had like a brother-in-law that wrote a book on golfing. And he sold it and made like quite a bunch of money from it, but his brother-in-law sucks at golfing.
Yeah, like
which I think's kind of funny.
So here's something interesting is like I have for a very long time wanted to do like a coffee table book for Saturn, and I actually wanted to do it like have it be the exact same size as a Saturn console and have the cover be like a Saturn, have the back be.
That's
so
funny.
I have ideas for that. I mean, I'm like, now somebody recently released a book about Saturn, right? And we covered it on the site and everything like that, and it was decent. I mean, it got kind of like fair to middling reviews, like across the board. Like some people really liked it, some people thought that the effort was lower. It really just, it's everybody kind of has a different take on that. But me personally, I'm like, what could I bring to the table in terms of a coffee table book on Saturn? I wouldn't try to just say, okay, here's all of the information you could possibly want to know about this console, because that's already kind of been done with the Japanese like perfect catalogs and stuff like that. So it's like, what could I do differently that hasn't already been done? I think if I was going to do something like that, it would have to bring more flavor and personal, personal opinions and stories and stuff like that. It would have to be more like
a book about SHIRO.
Yeah, like something. You're onto something there. But I think that's the thing, is I think it would need to be a good read too. It would not just be, bombarding the reader with dry facts about,
Yeah, because people just look that up. I think the coolest books are like the ones that are like so niche that nobody really has covered. Like that one book I picked up on the computing in East Germany during the the Cold War, which I thought was super fascinating.
Yeah.
Like, I think books like that have a cool twist like that, are ones that are the most successful. Like, I don't think anybody wants another guide to the Sega Saturn book or whatever.
Right. I mean, to be fair, like one hasn't really been done completely in the West to you know,
Yeah, I mean,
as
like you
would love
mentioned the
it to-
Japanese perfect guides, but like those
Right.
are in Japanese.
Those are in
you know?
Japanese. So yes. So it
We could use something like that in English.
we
possibly.
could use something like that in English, and it could offer value. So that's true. And I think that would have to be one aspect of it, but I don't think that could be the only aspect of it, you know?
Yeah, like you were saying, you know, you can't just regurgitate Wikipedia,
Right.
you know, and then sell it as a book.
But yeah,
I think you're right that some personal anecdotes and, you know, opinions and stuff, and maybe recounting your own personal journey with the Saturn or something would add a lot of value to a
I
book
think
like
what
that.
would make it really special is if we got the community involved, like heavily involved,
Yeah.
and you're able, so I think that could make it a really special thing that people would be into. But yeah, so like if I do that, and if Pat does it, you know, if we do it, it's got to be something special. We're not just going to phone something like that in.
Would people be interested if I like took naked photos with the
I
Saturn,
love-
like, just like the Saturn covering my junk or something like that?
Yeah,
Or,
you
like,
know that
like
you got to have.
Everyone would, Pat.
We'll have like a centerfold in the middle with Pat. And I said, no, I'm just kidding. But
Sega Steve just said, I'm in if you do. So
I have to shout Malenko. I have to shout
sorry,
Malenko.
Steve. Sorry, Steve. That's what you said when I
Pat
said that.
Pokies.
So.
I gotta shout
Pokies.
Malenko for
Sorry,
calling out the coffee table book. The coffee table book that turns into a coffee table
into a
from
coffee
Seinfeld.
table.
Yes, because he literally I was literally thinking about that when I said the words coffee table book. So great minds think alike.
Nice.
That's funny. Last update before we go into news is I did a little poster for the Sega Lounge today, and we're gonna do. I'm thinking I'm gonna print something like 100 or maybe 150 of these. So like the first 150 people that visit the lounge will get a poster to take home.
Cool.
And maybe we'll all sign it or something like that. Something fun like that. I mean, Adam Korlick's going to be there, and G to the next level and stuff like that. So we could get a bunch of signatures all over them if people want. But I mean, yeah. So yeah, that's just something fun I wanted to share. We have a bunch of other cool stuff planned as well, and we've done like huge banners that are going to line the room, and we got RGB lighting, and I know Kay's going to bring his like DJ equipment. He's going to bring his PA.
Karaoke going on.
We're going to do, so we're going to try, karaoke with the Super Prologue.
I mean,
with
if Sega Steve's
with Sega Steve's
still
blessing.
down.
Otherwise, I'm sure we could. Yeah. There was a Dreamcast karaoke unit, though I don't know if anybody's got one of those. And then, but we'll figure out something. What'd you say, Pat?
Lame.
Oh,
I do have that. I also have the Saturn one.
You have the Saturn one? Do you have do you have the Genesis one? You know, the little side unit? It's like bulky and it's like a little
I don't.
stereo. Oh, that thing looks so cool. Hey Kay, how's it going?
Hello.
Yeah, no, I think the Saturn one's cooler just because it's a giant unapologetic karaoke box.
Oh yeah, for sure.
That's why it's cooler. And the Dreamcast one's a little add-on on the bottom. It's like
Definitely.
wimpy, and it's like hefty.
Hefty, cinch
giant-
sack. Yeah, there's a throwback.
Giant ass like karaoke unit. It's like unapologetic.
And he got a nice shout from LGR, Lazy Game Reviews. I almost said LRG, but no, yeah, Sega Steve, he got his prologue got a shout at least, and shown on LGR's channel for the Long Island Retro. I think it was the Long Island Retro, right?
Yeah, the one at the airport.
with
the airplanes in the museum.
It was like a hangar or something. Yeah, so that was cool. More people need to learn. More people need to learn about the prologue, because I'm always amazed at how many people come up and they're just like, "What is this?" They had no idea that there's like a huge rack Saturn like that. But yeah, it's pretty cool. All right, well, I mean, we're out of updates territory, so I think we can move on to.
I got you twice, Dave.
News. Yeah, you got me. 2 sodas. Let's see here.
Have to get me a PRG.
The browser. Yeah, I'll have to spot you at PRGE. How far are we going back?
The Saturn didn't fail.
That's where we're starting.
Sega guys.
Yeah.
Excellent. video, by the way. This is one that James
Ooh,
has
61
been.
viewers. Thank you, people.
This is one that James, our bro from the Sega guys, fellow SHIRO, he's been working on this video for a long time. For
Months,
folks who,
yeah.
months. I mean, and all while having a new baby and everything like that, you know. So it's been like any little bit of time that he's been able to squirrel away, work on it.
It's really good.
It is a good video, and really I mean, it's kind of comprehensive in going over like why the Saturn is worth paying attention to now, these days.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, I'm sure everybody watching does. Several months ago, or a few months ago, I don't know, I uploaded that little trailer, which was kind of like just a bumper for our channel, change the narrative. And it was done kind of in the heat of irritation from seeing so many content creators continuously go back to the whole Sega was a failure in the West kind of thing, and I'd bring up an article from Time Extension that would be about some new Saturn thing, and of course, like, the first paragraph was like, even though the Saturn was a complete failure in the West, now blah 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 blah, and I'm like, well, now I don't care about the article because I'm already turned off by, like, why is it that we're still talking?
What's this got to do with the news?
What does this have to do with this news, right? Exactly.
Yeah, there's this video that this dude did where he actually joked about that, where he's about to say that, and he pulls up a Segaholics tweet.
Right.
It's a good console. Which I thought was kind of funny.
Never mind.
Yeah, but I mean, I think he kind of missed the point though too, because the way he was saying it, he was kind of like poking fun at it, like saying like it's and I think he kind of missed the point that we're not trying to change history, and we're not trying to have you go on record saying that it didn't fail commercially. It's just that it's 30 years later, and you don't need to preface every article that pertains to Saturn with, I feel a responsibility to educate everyone, just in case you didn't know Saturn was a complete failure. Like,
the system sucks. It failed. It was horrible.
Seriously.
That killed Sega single-handedly. Garbage console, 0 out of 10. But anyways, here's some cool games for it. That's $3,000.
So that trailer was met with a lot of positivity and a lot of like, woohoo, finally, it was. So, of course, there was some negativity as well, and some people saying you guys are
most of that was me.
You're revising history or whatever. But for the most part, it was positive, and there were a few folks asking like, what is this? Is this going anywhere? Or like, is this going to lead to like a series or something like that? And frankly, I haven't had the time to do anything. So I'm actually really glad that James made this video, because this is probably better than anything I could have done anyway. And it does exactly what needed to be done, which is follow up that statement that we need to change the narrative with a complete explanation of why that's the case. Basically, we're 30 years on. The Saturn is an amazing console. It's got a ton of great games, and it doesn't really matter in 2024 whether it failed in the West, succeeded. It doesn't matter how much it sold in the West. Let's put it that way. It was Sega's most successful console in Japan and in Brazil, not Brazil, but Portugal.
I actually learned that it sold more than the Dreamcast actually globally. Like the other day, my friends were looking at like the top 10, top selling consoles, which we were surprised. DS is like the second, is the highest Nintendo selling console.
Yes.
That was surprising. It did sell gangbusters.
and PlayStation 2 was Sony's highest selling console. But I mean, the fact is, as far as Sega consoles goes, it sold the most worldwide. But a lot of folks in the West don't really care about that, and they tend to control the narrative. And the West just tends to control the narrative. It's like, oh, we speak English. This is, this is the home of freedom, and this is the only news that matters.
It's like funny. We had that same discussion. We had that same discussion at Gamescom with like all these other people, like the guys from Sega Mags. We were talking, and they were like saying, it's kind of annoying how like all the perspectives always Western perspective. This and that failed. And like we were having like a whole discussion with like me, some other German dude, and I forgot what her name was from Sega Mags in France. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was kind of funny, and I imagine all the other European people would say in the chat as well that it's kind of ridiculous how the Western narrative is the one. Like there's no like Sega, like, because like the whole thing is like Nintendo versus Sega, and it's always an American thing. It's not like there's no European perspective, which I think would be really cool that if they did more European perspective things or more country focused. Because I mean, there is so much variety between countries. Like Nintendo was huge in Germany, but I mean in Great Britain it was Sega, and like the same thing with like Portugal, it was a Sega country and stuff like that. There was like Sega and Nintendo countries, and I think the vast majority of them were Sega countries, but like Nintendo just won out because of America and then the whole Western bias.
Yeah, and it sounds funny because I think we were on a editor's corner, James, Dan, I think it was Sega Lord X, and
I said one he did, right?
I said something silly. It sounds really stupid, but it's like the Sega Saturn. It doesn't know it's a failure, right? It's just a silly machine, right? It plays games. You put good games in it, and it plays them. And it's really the people that screwed everything up, right? There were a lot of mistakes made, sure, and there was a lot of infighting and a lot of disagreement, and there's a lot of really poor marketing, and of course they, things like losing Steve Race to Sony, lots of big things that made huge impacts on the company. But the console itself, it's a machine, and it's a proprietary computer that plays good games, objectively. So I would say really good games, and we all know that now, and we're all benefiting and enjoying as a community, enjoying this console.
Yeah, like that's
Exactly.
kind of the point of the whole change the narrative thing. Is like, okay, it doesn't matter how things went sales-wise in the past 30 years ago. What matters is the Saturn is a thing that exists now, that you can enjoy now, and here are the things you can enjoy on it. Here are all the different games. Here are the ways you can enjoy it through different ODEs or whatever. And let's talk about the here and now.
And it's not even an exaggeration. Like I hate to say, like, I know a lot of people say, oh, the Jaguar is a great console too. And I'm like, okay, that's fine. If you really like the Jaguar, that's fine. If it floats your boat. But I mean, I don't really think it's exaggerating to say that a lot of the games on Saturn are not just good, like they're really, really good. They're really great. Like, if you want a great, visual novel with also RPG elements and stuff like that, Sakura Wars is just, you can hardly get anything better on any other console. They're great games, and Grandia and Shining Force 3 and all the games that
Memorial.
Well,
I mean, technically that was
Deep Fear,
still,
and if James wants to unmute his mic and talk wax a little bit about his video,
allowed to, sorry,
he's not.
We made this an American only show, James. Sorry.
But the point is,
to be able to speak.
one I do want to say real quick though is that James followed up a video that Dan did. It was very similar, sharing his feelings about how Saturn didn't fail and just the passion that he had, and it came through in his voice, and you could really hear the passion that he had for this console and the experience that he had, which he doesn't feel is represented in articles and content. Videos on YouTube and stuff like that. So, and I think James, you were saying it's kind of the same deal with you, right? From the moment you got the console, it was a success, right?
Yeah, that's the kind of thing that I go into in the video as well. And, I think whenever you've seen like Dan's video and, it's a Sega Saturn success story, and it was phenomenal, what he's crammed into 15 minutes on that. And his take on it, his is purely 15 minutes of personal memories, whereas that I'd decided to kind of take hint off of that, and I felt that they changed the narrative trailer needed something to follow it. Like it couldn't just stop once that Saturn It's Our Future faded. There had to be something to follow on from that. So I thought, right, what can I add to it? So I thought if I can highlight everything that it did well and mix in some kind of personal things, which is what I do in the final chapter. I kind of reference the 6 mile round trip that I used to take every weekend with my best friend Sam. We would literally walk, like behind our houses where we stayed, there was like an old abandoned railway that they turned into a kind of cycle track. They tarmacked it all, and you could literally walk all the way from our house into this kind of area of the city where, CA Games was, which is our kind of local indie / import store. And we would just walk. It's a 6 mile round kind of trip, and we would just walk and talk Saturn. It was just what was in the magazine, what we were looking forward to, what did we hope to see at the store, what could we not wait to play, what could we not wait to try. And, it was like all this kind of like failure is not only commercial. Like people who only, I think the worst thing that gaming ever did was give gamers access to sales numbers, because they just weaponized it, and it becomes something that why people care about sales numbers. Like, as I said in the video,
Oh, but the PlayStation sold more than Saturn. Oh,
exactly.
Saturn
It's
didn't
like,
sell these amount of consoles. It was the failure console.
it's not a popularity contest, you know what I mean? It's a games console, like Dave said. Like, it's a games machine. It doesn't know it's a failure or a success, or all it knows is you put a disc in or an ODE and you play games, and that's it. And it's been quite amusing seeing, you can tell in the YouTube comments who is replying to the thumbnail, and you can tell who
actually watched the video.
Yeah, you can really tell, because you've got people who come in and go, well, actually, it was a commercial failure. And I'm like, well,
you're like, tell me you didn't watch the video without telling me you didn't
watch the video.
It's like, I don't need a history lesson. I've just made a 35-minute video. So you don't need to tell me history, because I've just made a video. And I literally set the stall out. And a lot of what took time whenever doing this video was that I had to, it was planning out the script to try and give people absolutely no recourse in the content of it to trip me up. So literally, I set the stall out and I say, the Saturn's failure commercially is part of its story. We aren't trying to rewrite history here. And yes, I've opened this video up by saying that we want to change a narrative, but changing a narrative doesn't mean rewriting history or denying it. What it means is that, yes, we can acknowledge that it was a failure. That was true in terms of its commercial success, but there is more to the Saturn. We're 30 years on this year from when it came out in Japan. Like, new content should not be prefixed with it's a commercial failure. And people go, well, what's wrong with people telling that side of the story when it's fact? It's like, but look around at all the positive stuff. Look at the fan translations, the ODE options, the homebrew scene. I can't wait to see what people are doing with the new Joe engine this year, for example. Look what Frogville's doing. Rebuilding Crash Bandicoot, Metal Gear Solid from the ground up. Okay, they're demos just now, but he's working on these. He's grinding away at them. There's just so much going on, and it's like people are blinded to it. And what I want to do is this video to be out there as some kind of evergreen thing where if people can find that video before, if they buy a Saturn and they're looking to get into it, and I say that in the video, is that I just don't feel that the YouTube legacy content matches up to the current day kind of community. And hopefully if people can come across that video before they come across the other ones, then maybe they'll come to it with a different set of eyes. They won't come to it with the, all right, so this thing flopped, so why do these people like it so much? Rather than they come to my video and they go, oh, wow, man, this guy loved this. This must have really made an impact in this guy's life 30 years ago. And it did, and that's what I wanted to tell in the video. And I'm just kind of passionately ranting now because, as I say, it really was a passion piece, and it took about 2.5 months to make on and off, obviously with the wee one being here now and just kind of chipping away at it as and when I could. But I'm proud of it. I think,
cooked.
It was
great.
I'm proud of it.
Turned out good.
And again, as I said in the chat, but to everybody who has watched it, and has enjoyed it and has commented on it, thank you so much for the kind words. To the people who get the context, who understand the message that I'm trying to put across here. Mel, Sega Lord X, he left a public comment on it as well, kind of backing up the narrative as well, and that was awesome. That Mel
Talk about that, because he made a really good point, and Dan is kind of Dan's in the comments here kind of talking about it too, the whole coming at it from the perspective of film, like what if we considered all of these Marvel films that have been released, as huge successes because they're box office hits, right? They're box office smash, but like Shawshank Redemption, which is an actual good film, is a complete failure, right? Because
just because it flopped in the
just because it flopped, financially, right?
Exactly. It was a great point, in music and movies, not everything's going to be an absolute, smash out the park. You look at obviously what the Marvel films cost to make and what they bring in because they're flashy and full of special effects and characters that, people love in terms of comic books. But as you said, Shawshank, you think back to like Pulp Fiction, one of Tarantino's, earliest films now. Jackie Brown, you think all these Reservoir Dogs, they weren't like, they're cult hits. But they didn't make the money that the Marvel films made. You tell me Reservoir Dogs and Pulp Fiction are like, they're just failures as cinema.
Sorry, James, they're failures. Like, but all joking aside, though, it seemed like every sort of thing is like that, but I don't know why consoles aren't. Like, I mean, like people would say that that Oasis is a good band, but because it sold millions of records. But I would disagree because it's Oasis. While something like, you know, Pinkerton
Mate,
did awful.
I'm afraid that I can't say a bad word about Oasis because they were the soundtrack to 4th and 5th year in high school, like Definitely Maybe and What's the Story.
Fair
Those two
enough.
albums, they were the soundtrack. You went in the common room at high school, man. It was like, you know, it was just, you know, Supersonic, Columbia,
Sure.
you know, Live Forever.
I guess it's kind of like ragging on Weezer, you know. It's like,
but I mean that's subjective. That's subjective.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
If Saturn failed at anything, it was.
I'm glad I made them so angry.
I guess I would honestly say
enjoy your $1,000 ticket reunions, boys.
I would honestly like to say that if Saturn failed at anything, it was basically just reaching a lot of us. You know, like Pat is, you know, living proof of that, and many people can relate to that, not having known about it, you know, and that really comes down to, like, you know, the marketing and stuff like that.
Me too. I was, you know, about to be a teenager when I ended up asking for an N64 for Christmas instead of the Saturn, because I didn't know of any games that I even wanted on the Saturn.
Right.
The only games I knew were even on it were like Sonic 3D Blast, which is also on my Sega Genesis, so I asked for it there instead, and Nights into Dreams, which I didn't really jive with the look of, you know, as a kid. So I didn't know of anything else.
And it almost passed
me.
I almost missed it too, you know, like it was a chance encounter that I actually
You got yours like early 97.
Yeah, like late night. I wanted it late 96. I was saving up for it, but I finally purchased it in like the New Year, like right after New Year's, when we got back to school. And frankly, like, you know, it's a crazy story, but like all of the odds, I guess, were against me, you know, and like Dan says in his story, it's like everybody was trying to push you away from Saturn, you know. So it was a miracle that I even got into it as it is, because I was just stubborn and headstrong, and I was like, no, I really want something unique for myself. But I mean, the fact is, yes, taking on its own merits, it's just a really great game console that we can all really enjoy today. And honestly, I almost want to do a podcast with like James and Pat and Dan and everything, talking about how all of the games that PlayStation lovers could love on Saturn as well. Like if you loved PlayStation or you loved N64, here are some games that you would also love, no doubt, on Saturn, you know, because
we still got a PS1 cast too.
It's very slept on for a lot of folks, and James talks about in his video all the reasons why it continues to be slept on. Like people come up to me at PRGE and they just see Saturn and they continue walking because they're like, oh no, I can't afford it. I can't afford it, so I don't even want to think about playing it. And those two get conflated so easily. It's like, okay, I mean, I realize we're living in an age of like easy piracy for this stuff, and I'm not trying to like tell people to not.
The thing is just like right around the corner though from it, like literally just like turn the corner and there's so many affordable Saturn games that are fully playable.
Yeah, I mean, like
affordable Saturns.
You go to Steve's booth, which Sega Steve, he'll be on the vendor floor at PRGE, and I mean he's got the most reasonable prices on like Japanese Saturn games, and I'm probably going to pick up a handful of them, you know, this in a couple weeks. And I mean, like I say, you get those games and you go on well, you can't go to ROM hacking anymore, but they're all mirrored on our website. You grab they're still okay. So you grab those awesome fan patches from the community, and you can play yourself a bunch of translated Saturn games. I mean, so there's and James, you made a good point that you can't discount the Japanese library just because we didn't get it 30 years ago, right? You know, it's like some people want to say, oh, but we can't talk about that because they have some sense of
available now.
It's like, come on, man, like. Are we still in grade school? You know,
it's like people go, oh, well, I mean, the Saturn's best games are locked away in Japan. And I'm like, all right, so that they don't count then? Yeah. It's like, do we just ignore good games because we didn't get them in the mid-90s?
Yeah, that's just.
You know, that's it. But they're so. The library is so diverse, and it's never been more accessible than it is today.
Right.
You know, what I mean? So just dig in. You know, enjoy it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I mean
the Western library is slept on. Like a lot of people
Thank you.
should say, oh,
Yes.
all the good games are in Japan, but it's like, well, the Western library is still pretty damn good. Like
I know, right?
Exactly.
Mr. Bones, right? We got Mr. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
But seriously,
I'm
the
sorry
Western.
I made fun of Oasis, Dave. I'm sorry.
No, yeah, the Western. That's another. I think pervading myth is that the 200 some games that we got in the West are all trash. I mean, yes, there's some shovelware in there, of course. Every system has its share of shovelware, but there's a ton of great games. I would say that the ratio of good to bad games in the West is actually. It's not bad. Like I have a wall of games right there, and most of them are, all killer, no filler. I've avoided most of the filler, so I don't have a complete U.S. long box collection because I refuse to get a lot of the filler.
He
But
has Dave's complete U.S. long box.
I have
That's
my
like what's
complete.
important.
That's right. So, you did an amazing video. You worked really hard on it, James, and it shows. And I love the passion in your voice. And I hope, like you said, I hope that it starts. I hope it starts a fire. I hope that it helps change the nature of the kind of videos that are coming out for this console.
It's got a lot of views too. It's like what, 10K right now?
Oh yeah, it's blown up.
It's coming up.
I think
Yeah.
it was like 7K views within the first 8 hours or something crazy like that. So, yeah, no. But yeah, that's it. We got to change the narrative. We got to change the conversation about the Saturn to a positive one that includes the entire world, as far as like who's represented, instead of just the West and the old Sega of America versus Sega of Japan arguments and stuff like that.
Honestly, we need to start writing getting a book together to write like the failure of the game competition in Europe.
Yeah, and
Like,
how do you really define failure anyway, right? Like Sega Lord X.
I just meant like the just like competition. Sorry.
Yeah, even third place is not necessarily doesn't equal failure, right? It's like, do we consider?
You said it like twice, Dave. Like that the failure wasn't necessarily the console,
Right,
but like the marketing.
right. A lot of people in the comments say Saturn didn't fail, we failed Saturn, and I mean but that's hard to put on people because there's a lot of folks out there who probably would have gotten interested in Saturn if they had heard about it, and again that just comes down to some human error, marketing blunders, misappropriated funds. I would say spending 50 million on that TV and print campaign was an absolute tragedy, really, because my greatest argument is that you spend 50 million on Saturn hardware and just put them in shopping malls, like at little kiosks, and just let kids play for free. There are enough great games on the Saturn that it could sell itself. Even on day one, you show folks like Panzer Dragoon or Daytona USA. I think that Saturns would have jumped off the shelf.
I just want to just to cap it off. I just want to say that I'm also tired of seeing like the constant praise of Nintendo stuff, and it's like they act like they didn't have the N64 and GameCube, which were commercial failures back to back.
Yeah,
I say Virtual Boy as well. Virtual Boy, N64, and then GameCube, and they're acting like that like isn't a thing. And I barely see any. Oh, this console is a complete failure on any of those videos. So
I can't stand the fanboyism because it's like. I bleed Sega Blue, but I love Nintendo too. And I have a Switch, and I've enjoyed Nintendo my entire life. And in fact, I enjoy Sega games and Saturn games now on my Nintendo Switch, right? So it's like, we're adults now. We're allowed to like more than one console, and we don't have to be fanboys about it. And I'm surprised.
Don't worry, I don't like any of the consoles. PS5 is trash, and so is the Series X.
You read some of these comments, and it's like you would think that these people have been like mortally wounded by the statements that James makes in this video. They're like, how dare you say that Saturn was a great console?
I did like how angry it got. I like that, James. That was my favorite part of it.
Well, some people just have too much time on their hands, I think is what it comes down to. They have nothing better to do than argue this stuff till they're blue in the face. But yeah, so anyway, watch this video. If you haven't seen it, go check it out. It's what's the runtime on this?
About 35 minutes.
Not bad. Okay, yeah, definitely.
So, Dave, just before I head off, go and help get the wee one to sleep.
Sure.
But did you catch the bit with John Linneman and Rich Ledbetter with Alex Battaglia? We're doing the PS5 Pro.
Right.
Oh, yeah. Everyone's giving him so much shit now on Twitter.
No, but they mentioned the big. They said the big. John says, "Let's talk about the big three," and it was like ray tracing and resolution or something else. And then John goes, "Oh, I thought whenever you said the big three there, Rich, you were going to talk about us three presenting this podcast." And he goes, "No, when it comes to the big three, what I resonate with is still Virtua Cop, Sega Rally, and Virtua Fighter 2 on the Saturn." I was like, "Yes, the fire still burns at Richard Ledbetter."
Yeah.
We need to get him on the
awesome.
show.
Oh yeah, like we need to interview that guy before he starts forgetting everything. I think like I've asked Audi and I've asked John before, and I think that they've asked him. I think he's just a really busy guy, is what it comes down to.
Busy.
But one of these days we'll corner him.
Maybe.
Right, anyway, guys, I need to head off.
Yep.
So thanks very much again, everybody. Enjoy the video.
Love you, James.
On the show.
Great job.
Cheers, guys.
Yep.
Good show.
On the
See you
Sega
later.
side.
Will do.
Next up, what do we have? Next up, we've got a Best of Saturn Senken Kigyoden.
Senken Kigyoden. Yes, which I have to say, because I put this on the website for Peter. And Peter originally had just referred to this by its Chinese title. It did release in Taiwan. I don't know why but I decided, you know what? Let's just put the Japanese name on the article, because the Chinese one is like Shanjian Qi Shizhuan, which is probably a butchering, but it's the best I can do. But in English, it's called The Legend of Sword and Fairy. The side of the Japanese disc has Japanese on it, so yeah, I just put a Senken Kigyoden.
This one's on my short list or on my wish list for translations, but I think there's a lot of text. Yeah.
Oh, probably.
Yeah. Tell me about it. Do you want to read this one?
Yeah, sure. So Peter says that it's a 1999 Saturn conversion of a 1995 DOS, 1997 Windows PC release. It's an RPG from SoftStar. The game is based on Chinese mythology, and for a solid 10 years, it was the biggest selling video game in China, spawning spin-offs and sequels that persist to this day. I think we are actually finally getting like officially localized Legend of Sword and Fairy games now on Steam, so that's cool. Yeah, I think at least one or two have come out now. So yeah, but it's apparently been a big franchise in China ever since 1995. So follow the tale of Li Xiaoyao as he embarks on a quest to find medicine for his ill aunt and experience a tale of love, tragedy, and sacrifice. Available on Saturn in both Japanese and Chinese. I guess that would be the Taiwanese version. The game visually reminds of old IBM 486 adventure games with stiff animation and limited use of color. Fun can be had here, and the historical significance of this title in the East is unparalleled, but the amount of text is a heavy barrier to entry.
And that's
looks
probably
really cool. I love that DOS look, like the Legend of Monkey Island look, and like this sort of artwork. I think I really like that vibe for it. I mean, we can't even get into. It'd be another podcast episode if we talked about like PC 98 and all that other stuff.
It's true that it does have kind of a muted brownish color palette, but the artwork is really nice. Like you look at right here, they didn't put the avatar like in a box, but it's kind of like a nice portrait. It's really good pixel art, and then everything about it it looks very well crafted. And I'm sure that it's just the text is ridiculous. Like I'm sure somebody's looked at this before and just said, well, look, it's just a ton of Chinese kanji. So it's like, and how do you like for all of those kanji right there, how do you turn that into like an English sentence that's going to take up the same amount of space? Like probably not going to happen. I don't know how hard of a project this would be, but I think it's definitely one of those ones.
Just make up stuff like they usually do.
Right. High barriers to entry to play and also to do any kind of translation project. You were going to say something, Kay?
Yeah, this was one I was after, specifically the Taiwan version, because it was it may actually be in my collection, specifically like the Taiwan version. But it was notable because it was the first time that I had seen a non-Japanese, Eastern Asian language for the Saturn on anything. So it stuck out in my mind for a really long time.
Yeah.
Back in the day, if you were following the Satakore sites when he used to put up auctions on eBay that were interesting. You could find that I think that game showed up twice, and that's what got my attention on it way back in the day. It was ridiculously expensive, though.
Jeez.
Apparently, Softstar are still at it. Like they've got a modern website and they're doing new action RPG games and stuff like that.
I think Dan said that they put some of these sequels to this game on Switch or Steam.
Right. Oh, okay, so they're the ones that are doing it then. Okay, cool. Did they do, Dan, by any chance? I don't know if you have Sega Retro or anything up, and you could tell us. I do. Did they do anything else on the Saturn at all, or was it just that one?
We'll click their name and see. Nope, this is all they got.
That's it.
I mean, this did come out in 1999, March 4th, 1999. In
late
Japan,
release.
So
okay.
This is a very late Saturn release. I mean, there were only a handful of games that came out on the Saturn after 1998. So
right, yeah.
But yeah, they didn't make anything before this though either. So
crazy. Okay.
Yeah, they probably got delayed and maybe had some issues with oh crap, we got to get this out before the Dreamcast drops.
No, that was after the Dreamcast came out by 4 or 5 months.
Oh yeah, that's right. And 98.
They were quite late.
That's right. Yeah.
Right.
Dreamcast was 98 in Japan, right? Yeah. So that's
the Saturn sold really well there, so it probably was easy to sell it.
But that's really cool. Yeah. Again, it's kind of a game with what seems to be a pretty detailed and kind of historically significant story, like you said. So that's one of the things that draws me to it. And it would be amazing if it got a translation, but I imagine maybe that would be a thing where it's maybe translated on another platform, and then that text can kind of be like inserted or something like that.
This sort of reminds me of how the Saturn also has the very first Atelier game, Atelier Marie.
Right.
It's a long-running series that exists to this day, still gets sequels, and by some miracle, the very first game was ported to the Saturn. And that's apparently the case for the Legend of Sword and Fairy as well. So
right.
Yeah, it's kind of cool. Just how many games did get ported to the Saturn. A lot of them were just in Japan, but they still exist, and you can play them as best you can.
I mean, one of my favorite RPGs based on Chinese mythology is Suikoden, and that made it to Saturn, but it was only in Japanese on the Saturn. Played it several times on the PlayStation, both Suikoden and Suikoden 2. I want to get the Switch remaster. Just haven't done that yet. But yeah,
is it good?
It looks good for what they're asking. I don't know, like $40 or something like that. It looks good to me. But next up is Under the Microscope, a Bo Bale's article talking about anarchy in the Nippon. Or the Nippon. This is in this edition. There are a couple of demos of Goiken Muyo Anarchy in the Nippon, the goofy 3D fighting game designed by virtual fighter enthusiasts. Yeah, so this game, for those who don't know, and we've done articles on it, Best of Saturn before. The fighting scene, I guess you could say, like people from the virtual fighter, competitive tournament scene actually designed their own fighting game, and that turned into this Anarchy in the Nippon. The demos have superficial limits on which modes and characters you can play, but they can be lifted. Since the demos are based on pre-release builds, there are some interesting differences to the final game. You can play an extended version of one of the demos and get the patch here. There's a download link, and here's a video that he included. I'm gonna mute it so that we can talk more about it. Okay. Did either of you guys get to try this patch?
I haven't tried the patch. I've tried the game though. We covered it on the other 3D fighting games, I think. The podcast we did like a couple years ago. Yeah, and
it's pretty good, especially when you consider that it was like I don't know if I don't know if it was actually like a production, like a game production studio, or if these people were like kind of novices to video game development.
I don't think they developed much before.
Yeah,
this.
Because prior to this, they didn't really have many, if any, credits. I think maybe they had like one or two advisors on the crew that had like previous experience, but a lot of it was like they knew a lot about fighting game mechanics from actually playing and being in tournaments. So there were things they wanted to do with a fighting game. This is one of my favorites, the Salary Man. It's such a funny character. Yeah. So
well, Sega Retro says of this game that it's supposedly was developed by the same group of people who worked on the Saturn conversion of Virtua Fighter 2, and was originally pitched to Sega as an entirely new fighting game. Sega, however, were not interested, so Anarchy in the Nippon was picked up by KISS instead. KISS is the publisher of this game.
right.
It wouldn't surprise me if maybe they got scared off with rival schools.
But
Maybe
what
they're
did you
afraid.
just say? You just said that it was developed by the same people that handled Virtua Fighter 2 for the Saturn?
Yeah, that converted Virtua Fighter 2 to the Saturn.
I
That's
don't believe that is accurate.
what it says.
Okay. Yeah,
I don't know if that is true either, but
yeah, because I've heard, I don't know, I've heard conflicting reports, but I don't know, maybe somebody else like Trekkies would probably know better, but I don't know. That's I've heard otherwise.
it does sound like quite the story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's like did Sega hire outside people to do that for them with Virtua Fighter 2, or did people working for Sega just leave the company and
Maybe that's what it was. It was like part of the team that did the Virtua Fighter 2, and then they had the tournament players as credited advisors who kind of like, helped with the, gameplay mechanic and kind of like the, the design, basically the fighting design. But yeah, like, I don't know. That's interesting. I will have to do some more research, but this is cool. I mean, this is unrestricting the demo. This is the patch that Bo, he as folks know, he says, I don't buy it. The code is totally different. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing, is it's really different, and the gameplay is really different too from Virtua Fighter 2. You would think that if they had gone on and could use any of their tools or any of their existing code, they would, and
maybe
yet, it just
unless
seems
they were afraid
like,
of getting sued. I mean, who knows?
right.
Yeah,
And I mean, maybe
to be fair though, we've had the rumors like this before, like with Rock'n'Roller using the code for another game or something like that. There was like a rumor.
Yeah,
And that was found to be
Wasn't it Grandia or something? They said Bach and Rotor used the same code as Grandia just because they're both kind of like isometric RPGs.
mm-hmm.
I can't remember. I'll have to ask Knight, but we talked about it on like the couple of podcasts. Or like the Rock'n'Roller preview we played. I believe he said that too.
Anyway, there's a bunch of little tiny differences between the demo and the final game. It's character portraits, photos of
With
the
Shining Force 3, that's what the code is sent to.
So
Okay.
So yeah, Bo, for folks who don't know, his hobby is like reverse engineering Saturn games with Ghidra, and just like, tearing them apart and finding any differences, finding codes that can unlock unused assets or unused gameplay modes. This is just one of many, and you should go check out his blog, Rings of Saturn. He's got patches for several games, and if you're interested in, checking out all this extra goodness that you can get out of these games, it's a lot of fun. So yeah, big head mode in the Flash demo. That's cool.
I want to bring up my favorite part of the game is the hidden characters in the game. Like the hidden characters in the game, like they're like actually developers, I believe, or the fighters.
Yeah, developers are
Right.
hidden.
I like how their
shows 'em.
photos are completely different.
Right. Yeah, I'll go back to that. So yeah, they originally were like kind of like black and white, and then they switched to color, I guess, for whatever reason. And and the ones that they ended up using are definitely better, I think. Like this one on the left, he's just he's smiling, but this one, he totally looks
I like
badass.
them left to right. It's like the left is like when you're home with mom, and on the right it's like when you're out with the boys.
Right. Yeah.
Jeez.
I love it. Anyway, it's a fun one. I actually own a copy of this. I couldn't pass it up because, again, Sega Steve, he had it for a super good price. And if you guys happen to be coming out to PRGE, definitely check out Sega Steve's booth. Like, tons of selection, tons of Japanese Saturn games. And yeah, no, the second I get there on like whenever he's set up, I'll be just like,
Yeah,
thumbing
we're gonna
through.
be rifling through that. Hopefully, you won't have standees that I could buy because I'm probably gonna.
But yeah, he'll
Gonna be
have.
like
I
my
know he'll
weakness.
have Saturns for cheap. You know, like as far as Saturn prices goes, he'll have very competitive prices on hardware, and
might
even
buy another one.
perhaps some that have dead lasers that you can throw a Fenrir into or a satiator. So you know, I know he usually he's willing to negotiate if and I think he even gives like bulk discounts if you're buying a bunch of stuff. So
Gives
Okay, so
flashes to the prices.
I have a little more to the story here with
Go
the
for it.
development of Anarchy in the Nippon. So
Okay.
this is on GameDeveloper.com,
okay,
and GameDeveloper.com says the behind-the-scenes story, according to Sega Gaga Domain, goes something like this. After Sega completed the excellent Saturn conversion of Virtua Fighter 2, a number of AM2 programmers wanted to immediately follow up with another fighting game. Sega declined for unknown reasons, perhaps because they didn't want to take any attention away from Virtua Fighter 2, which quickly gave Saturn a second chance at life. Eventually, 4 members of the AM2 team broke away and started their own little group to make their dream game. The end result was Anarchy in the Nippon, published by KISS in 1997.
Okay.
So so I guess it may be, and that sounds like a little more of a fleshed out story. Like I said,
Yeah.
some guys who were working at AM2 who just they felt stifled or something, so they broke away from Sega and then made this game.
So then it is technically true because they worked on VF2, so it counts. But it may not have been like the lead talent, you know. It may have been because it's not any name. It's not any like high profile names that I recognize as like.
Well, I mean,
you
it
know.
said it was the team that converted it, not the team that made Virtua Fighter 2.
Right. But I mean, even the team that converted it, there were some high profile advisors from AM2, you know, on that team. But yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, technically Sega Retro is not wrong in saying and how they worded it. Yeah, so that's
they just
cool.
didn't really cite any sources.
I'm glad we were able to sort that out because I was like, I remember there was something to it, but I just I couldn't remember exactly what it was. So next up we've got so anyway, definitely check out Bo Bale's Rings of Saturn blog. It's amazing, and there's a bunch of like a huge variety of different games on there. So there's definitely going to be something that will catch your interest. You know. Next up is a video that Dan did on an article accompanying it. Sorry,
Dan
not
Driver.
Dan Trax, Dan the Man Thrax, but it was Dan Driver. Sonic Ultra Saturn. The Saturn-inspired fan game is available now, and this is a PC game just for folks. You know, just straight up.
Saturn homebrew.
It's not a Saturn homebrew, but this is a imagining, I suppose, of what a 2D Saturn Sonic game would have been like, I guess. And see if I can make these images any bigger.
Yeah, this was entered into this year's SAGE, the Sonic Amateur Game Expo, which just was started about a week ago.
Yes.
So yeah, this is just kind of like a tribute, I guess, sort of to the Saturn. But like you said, Dave, it is technically a PC game. So it's too bad that this person hasn't tried to get it running on the Saturn. That of course would be super cool, but also much more difficult, I'm sure.
And they've even got
their wheelhouse is probably just making PC games. So what can you do?
I mean, I hope that I mean. Frog is here in the chat, you know, and I mean, he started a lot of his, you know, stuff on PC, and now he's working on Saturn. So, you know, I'm hoping that folks don't, you know, shy away from that. Like maybe they'll, you know, consider it in the future, you know, with all the tools like Pony Sound and, you know, all of the stuff that XL2 has given us and, you know, the stuff that Frog, you know, utilizing the community and leveraging all of the tools on Sega Extreme, and maybe folks will actually, you know, we'll get to a point where they're willing to give it a shot and try to like port it over to the Saturn. Because I mean, there's nothing here that I'm seeing that Saturn couldn't handle. It really just comes down to spending the time and doing that. So yes, it's one of those things though. We see a lot of these projects that are, you know, it looks like a Saturn game, but it's running on the PC, and it feels like false advertising to a degree. But I mean, it's still fun, you know. I agree with you, Dan. Like I really wish that folks would just bite the bullet and actually do it on Saturn. Yeah.
Saturn, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I guess from what I understand, maybe you can correct me in chat, Dan, but this does seem to be, because I did watch your video on this too, and I looked over your story, and it's kind of like a remix game. They take a lot of art assets from various existing official Sonic games, and just kind of like mash them together into new level designs. I guess they did kind of like program their own new boss fights, it seems like, although they are a little frustrating, it looked like, for Dan. They also grabbed music from existing Sonic games and put them in there too. So it's sort of like a mashup game. It's not an entirely unique experience, I guess. But it's still, I'm sure, is a lot of work and is cool to check out. It is kind of surreal seeing, you know, like some of the stuff from Mystic Cave being mushed together with stuff from, stuff from like Sonic 3 or whatever.
Right. And I mean, like, when it comes to like Sonic fan games, it's not that different from a lot of the other stuff that I've seen. There's been so many Sonic fan games released, you know, so it's like a lot of those I could envision running on the Saturn as well. I mean, and that's
Dan.
Oh, go ahead.
So Dan says in chat, that's right. There's a lot of remix assets in here. There's a lot of new stuff, and the super scaling effects are new and impressive. Yeah, that's true. The super scalar, like boss fights or levels or whatever, like the where they're flying on Tails' plane and whatnot. That is, of course, going to be new, and those are like some of the coolest looking parts of the game, I think.
Like, isn't there a Sonic Mania on the Dreamcast, or at least a project attempting to do that?
I think
Sonic Mania, right?
Like, I didn't know how far they went though, or how.
But there's at least been an attempt, you know, and there hasn't even been an attempt to do Sonic Mania on the Saturn. But I mean, I mean, sure, the Saturn couldn't handle that high of a resolution, but I mean, you kind of scale down the resolution. I think, you know, Saturn could handle Sonic Mania. It would have, but that's the thing, is it would have to be bespoke, you know, it'd have to be programmed for utilizing Saturn's hardware. I mean, and here we see, you know, like a Mode 7 thing going on, and this is certainly nothing that wasn't already done with like
sort of thing.
Right. I mean, you look at Street Racer, which used that kind of Mode 7 effect quite liberally, and I mean, it's every bit possible, you know. It really just is a matter of time and effort, you know, for somebody to do that. And of course, the tools they have nowadays, it's a lot easier to get something like this going on the PC, and you don't really have to optimize your code. That's the thing. You have so much extra performance, you know, so you can just kind of easily write it in. Did you say this was using one of the existing engines? I didn't catch that. If it was using like I don't know, not on Unity or something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, if I had to guess, I would say he was probably using Unity, since that's pretty user friendly, and
I mean, even if you just programmed this in
2D oriented,
right? But the fact is, even if you programmed in C or something like that, you wouldn't really need to optimize your code when running something like this on a PC with plenty of extra oomph. But with the Saturn, you know, it's like you have to worry about writing optimized code, you know, to take but yeah, and that's what takes extra time. But I mean, you know, that's our job as a community, is to inspire folks and say, hey, you know, and be the cheerleading section and say, you guys can do this. So I'll continue to agree with you, Dan, and say I hope that somebody will lead the way and you know, take those first steps to making something like this actually happen on the Saturn, and then maybe the floodgates will open. But it really comes down to like the sharing of tools, and so all the tools that the community has made available in recent years that have really kind of helped make more cool stuff possible. Awesome video though. Definitely check this out on the Sega Guys channel. Between Dan and James, like, they've still been incredibly prolific. So I'm impressed at all the content they're pumping out. And then finally, you go ahead and take this one. Dan, you wrote this up, so
Yeah,
Yes.
you go ahead.
I can't right now. Hold on, sorry.
Tell us all about the new satiator firmware that adds multi-disc and real booting support.
Real disk booting
Real
support.
disk booting support, sorry. Yeah.
So new firmware dropped on Wednesday for the satiator, and it adds some new features to the optical drive emulator, including the ability to switch disks in the middle of playing, and also being able to boot up burned disks and boot up disks from a region other than the one your console is. All of that is stuff that the satiator could not do before, and you can download all that from the official satiator website. We've got a link here. So one of the being able to swap disks for a while a game is running has been one of the lingering problems with the satiator. Previously, users had to restart their Saturns and choose the next game image from the satiator menu, which was kind of a hassle. And while most multi-disc games often leave a small save file on the Saturn so that the software knows that a disc has been switched, a couple of them, most notably Rampo, do not do that. They actually expect you to open up your disk drive while the game is running, swap to the next disk, close it, and then let it know, okay, the disk's in there, and it'll keep going. It doesn't save a file. Now, like the Sega official documentation says they're supposed to leave a save file. They're not supposed to assume that you can just swap disks without turning off the console. So the satiator originally, could support all of those in a roundabout way, but like Rampo could not be completed because the satiator just could not support it. So what Professor Abrasive did was he made it so that when you press the disk open button on your console, and then you close the lid again, the satiator will automatically move on to the next disk image in the folder, as long as they are named the same thing aside from like a number. So, you have Rampo disk 1, and then the same folder you have Rampo disk 2. It'll be able to automatically, when it detects you've opened and closed that disk drive door, it'll just move on to the next one.
That's pretty cool, actually.
Yes. Yeah, it is cool.
I guess that's how
cool
mode works on the PS1, Shadow Mask says. And I've never used my mode on the PS1, but that's interesting. So, good workaround.
But I have the Mr. Core now, so I don't need it.
Yeah. No, but that's awesome. I mean, I haven't even updated yet, but I definitely want to because, this is great.
Yeah. So burned discs and discs for games that don't match your console's region, meanwhile, can now boot up without issue with the satiator's new firmware. Previously, putting a disc in the Saturn when turning it on meant that the satiator did not take over the boot sequence, and the console treated the disc however it normally would. So if you put like a retail US Virtua Fighter disc in your US Saturn, and you've got a satiator in the back, and you turn on your console, it's just going to ignore your satiator and boot into Virtua Fighter. If that copy of Virtua Fighter is Japanese, then your console is going to just go right into the multiplayer menu and complain at you that this disc isn't suitable for your system because it's from the wrong region. Or if you put a burned copy of Virtua Fighter into your Saturn is also going to complain that this disc wasn't suitable. Or at best, I think it would treat it like a music CD if it has Redbook audio. The satiator now will even take over to some extent when you have a disc in the system, and it will see if you have a Japanese or an out of region disc in your console, and it will tell the console it's okay. Go ahead, use the force mind trick. You want to play this disc? It's fine, and it'll do it.
And it'll do it.
Same with burned discs. So that's super cool. If you have like a big library of burned discs and you've been using them with pseudo Saturn Kai on a cartridge, and then you end up buying yourself a satiator, you don't have to go through the hassle of like loading up an SD card with all the stuff that you had burned to those discs. You can just keep using your burned discs if you really want. So that's kind of neat. Or another neat thing is if you do buy like a repro disc, and you like the look of it from somebody on Etsy or whatever, you can play it using your satiator. You don't need to have a mod chip on your Saturn or, an Action Replay cartridge or something. So that's pretty cool. Professor Abrasive does go into more detail on the changes in his changelog. The changelog does also mention a couple of known issues. Multi-disk does not support Q plus ISO images because both the Q and ISO files are independently bootable. There's no way to tell whether it's supposed to be one image or several. So avoid that setup. Also, in mod chip mode, if you don't hold the A button, CDRs, burned disks, occasionally fail to boot. This happens when the drive takes too long hunting for the security ring. The workaround is to hold A on startup. So you kind of like you do a fast boot up, and that will skip that security ring check.
I've actually noticed, and I haven't even uploaded, or I haven't updated to this firmware yet, and I've noticed that sometimes if I'm doing something else and I just turn on my Saturn and let it go through the entire, boot up logo
animation,
sometimes it'll freeze, sometimes it'll go black screen. But when I press A and kind of like skip through that startup animation, it usually boots up every time. So that's something that I think was pre-existing, I've noticed. And maybe that's just like a little quirk about the satiator. I'm not sure. I did have a question for you, Dan. I don't know if you have an answer, but you might. So I use Satiator Kai, the pseudo Saturn Kai software for the satiator.
I do too.
Now, will updating my firmware affect that in any way, or will it just be smooth sailing?
I don't know the answer to that, but I have not heard that it would. I haven't tried myself because this did just come out a couple days ago, and I've been so busy I haven't able to.
I just figured some people would have that. Some people, other people might be asking the same question.
Yeah,
so.
I don't know if Private Eye. That's a good question. It should work.
Yeah. It should. Pixel Poppy Production says it should work.
There are no API changes.
That's a Haas machine, right?
Yeah, Haas machine.
No API changes.
Cool.
Haas machine.
All right.
Which, by the way, Haas machine, congrats on getting normal mapping working on the Saturn. I kind of want to write a story about that because that's super cool over in the Sega Extreme Discord.
You
looks
should.
Awesome.
You know what? You could.
It's kind of a new innovation with Saturn.
A year or so ago, XL2 did a thing where he got the reflection thing going, like and we could make it a series.
Like your gun or whatever.
Yeah, we could make it like a series where it was like technological innovation, fan innovations, from the community. We should do that, and make it like and link back to that one, and then just make it kind of a series because they keep doing cool stuff, with the Saturn. I mean, Haas Machine even got it at the high res mode that Virtua Fighter 2 uses, which is like even more impressive. It looks great. Oh yeah, that's awesome. Yes, you're right. And what was it? It was like a brick wall, right? One of the examples was a coin. Was it like a Canadian loonie or something? And then there was also one with a brick wall, and there's all these like I guess
there's like a floor with a sky above.
I thought I saw one that was like cobblestones or something like that. But essentially, they use like two different light source images, right? And then it kind of like blends between the two of them somehow. I don't know. It's crazy.
Yeah, it was like a cobblestone floor.
It's really cool though. You're absolutely right. It's a really cool effect, and if
have a better one done soon,
implement and utilize that in a game, that would be amazing.
Yeah, I think that's what Haas Machine is gunning for because he said that he's been able to get some code optimized enough that he thinks there's going to be enough overhead that you could also have a game going on top of it.
That'd be great.
If I'm correct on that, by all means, you should like maybe write this up a little bit, Haas Machine, and describe what you've done to
share it with Dan, and we'll get an article up.
This has nothing to do with the satiator, so sorry about that tangent. I just saw you in chat. So he was saying that this should work with pseudo Saturn Kai. Although I think pseudo Saturn Kai just already was letting you boot up like burn disks and stuff. Yeah. So this is really for people who have not loaded pseudo Saturn Kai onto their satiator.
Right.
So,
right. Okay. Cool.
I need to do that.
That's okay.
So and I even. Not that I want folks to, not use Pseudo Saturn Kai or Satiator Kai because I think it's amazing. I did volunteer to Professor Bracewell. Satiator Kai. I did tell him that I'm like I'd be more than willing to donate some free graphic user interface artwork for his vanilla firmware
Menu.
if he's ever interested, because I think that the one thing I really loved about the Satiator vanilla firmware is just how fast it is, how quick and snappy it is, so but Satiator Kai brings a bunch of quality of life enhancements with it, so it's definitely been worth the couple milliseconds of difference, in terms of snappiness. But that's our final article, I suppose.
Well, yes, we do still have that little announcement with Malenko, right?
We do, which Pat
I've decided to cancel it. Sorry, Malenko.
do the honors.
Oh, dang.
Basically, for all our patrons, I have to announce that we actually have a new beta translation patch for Saturn Bomberman Fight that's up on Patreon right now. This one,
cool.
I believe, adds more characters to it. More characters translated. Let me get the exact wording for it. Give me a second. It was like
all but 5 characters.
Yeah, all but 5 characters are done. And things get implemented next patch along with the last 5 characters, so it's pretty close.
And Shadow Mask also provided some subbed FMVs, I guess.
Nice job.
So yeah, it's coming together, and it's closer to prime time.
The edge.
Yeah,
and it's about to break.
Oh yeah. Any patron subscribers? Do you have to be a certain dollar level?
$3 and up.
$2?
$3.
Oh, $3 and up. You can try it out for yourself.
Yeah,
play
if you join right now. You
mostly
can
translated. Yeah.
So
thank you to Malenko and for all his efforts there and providing that to Shiro
for helping out as well with some of the issues they're running into.
Yeah,
and absolutely.
Other community effort.
And we really appreciate you guys, Malenko, Shadow Mask, House Machine. Like, there's so many folks here. Cerulean. There's so many folks here in the chat that contribute to this community. And Bo, Froggy, Frog Bowl. Numerous folks that are contributing great stuff that gives us cool news to talk about. So, don't forget to share these shows, and if you know other people that are into programming and they're maybe interested in Saturn, have them join Sega Extreme and have them join the Shiro Discord and get into this stuff, because and there's knowledgeable folks who can kind of help you on your path. But so really we're very grateful. In fact, I think we're going to take the opportunity at PRGE to show off Malenko's patch, so folks can enjoy it there too.
Guy's gonna like it.
Oh yeah, if the Bomberman guy is there, I'm sure he will be too. Yeah, he's gonna be looking for it. He'll be gunning for it. I have an announcement.
Story.
I have a small announcement to make.
Oh.
Shiro's done. Bye. I'm sure.
We have a community challenge going on, and Double Dime and Gregory Rasputin and a bunch of other folks. Joe, the committee, I guess, for the monthly community challenge, they put a lot of work into it, and they really want you to play this game Mystaria or Blazing Heroes, if you will, or Riglord Saga. It's a very underrated, not so pretty looking, but like really solid gameplay and music strategy RPG on the Saturn. It's not too late. I don't think it's too late to get involved, but you do have some ground to cover.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, they're playing through it kind of like a book club, and the goal is really to finish the game, start to finish, and kind of talk about it along the way. And
by the end of the month, so
by
we
the
still
end
have
of the
a good
month,
couple weeks.
so you will have to, you need to grind a little bit if you want to catch up, but it's not too late if you're just hearing about it and you want to. Yeah, I need to. I actually love this game, but I don't have the opportunity to play it right now just because there's too many other things.
By hitting the start button, hit play.
But yeah, I mean, all I can say is it's not going to win any awards in the graphics department. And in fact, like Emerald just tried to get started with it, and he was just like, "Oh my god," like it's like throw up on the screen or something. It was Micro Cabin. They were cutting their teeth on very early 3D, and I mean, for all intents and purposes, it's at a time where like folks like Nintendo were going, with the Donkey Kong Country like pre-rendered 3D. This is arguably pre-rendered 3D on top of like 3D polygonal backgrounds. And I mean, but the pre-rendered 3D is kind of ugly. I would say it's never really been known for having great graphics, but it is kind of a sleeper hit in groups online, like the Facebook groups and stuff. There's a bunch of people that will tell you that if you just give this game a shot, the music is phenomenal. The core gameplay is sound, and the story is good. There are the localization does suffer from some grammatical errors and stuff like that, but if you can get past that, it's a cool game, and this is the game we're playing this month, so definitely check it out. But my announcement is I wanted to show folks that Riglord Saga for the Japanese audiences came with a map. Came with this fold-out map. And Mystaria, the Realms of Lore, and Blazing Heroes also came with a fold-out map, but a lot of people are saying that they've never seen a copy of the game with a fold-out map, and that's because I'm the only one that has it. It's that rare that I'm literally the only one here that has this completely localized fold-out map. No, this is actually going to be a prize for those who place in the tournament or the community challenge. I'm going to send you a completely English localized fold-out map of the continent of Mystaria to go with your copy of Blazing Heroes or Mystaria. Or I mean, I guess if you have a Japanese copy of the game but you don't have that map, I'll send you a copy of the game. It doesn't really matter, but it does fit in your long box just like that. And I just figured somebody in the chat shared that, and I was like, oh, that's really cool. Riglord Saga got its own map, but we didn't get that in the West because the effort was. Of course. But anyway, yeah. So I went through the painstaking process of scaling it, cleaning it, doing compositing. So it doesn't look like a cheap scan. I promise you, it looks OEM, and
that's awesome.
Before, and it's always looked really, really nice. So I could vouch for that. All his extras and goodies always look top notch.
So in addition to a patch, I think we're gonna have patches, and probably I believe Zaiden's probably gonna do shirts. Although I don't want to speak for him, but he did just send out shirts to the winners of the what is it, the Toge King challenge. Joe, I think Sega RPG fan just got his shirt, and they look awesome. So you guys can expect a nice fold-out map for your game. I don't know how many people are going to place in this thing, but I'm prepared to send multiple maps all over, to folks who are able to place in it. I just wanted to sweeten the pot a little bit.
It's awesome.
Yeah, so that's it. That's all I got. Other than that, I just want to thank our patrons.
Yes.
Which we've got a Murder of Crows actually in the chat here with us. Casual Seth, Ceruleon, Chris Piper, Chris 1997XX, Daniel Fredrickson, David Zaney, Derek Pascarella, A-Team, Emerald Nova, Evo 42, Fat Drunk Friend Otaku, Gem Clash or Rank, Ian Kegg, Jay Hersey, Johannes Fetz, Lion Wing Publishing, Memphis, Normal Guy, Nutrageous, Robert Ramsey, Rowan Dinked, Sega Steve, Stoneman, the Sega Guys, Wafflekins, and Young Money Swee, or Jung Rhythm Swee, as we like to call him.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you to everyone.
I was really sick for Young Mike because I saw he dropped his thing, but I guess he re-upped it. I think he has an issue with his card with that.
Yeah.
But I was worried. I was like, oh no. I was like, oh wait, no, he's good. Never mind.
Yeah, and I mean, folks are going to come and go with their ability to support financially, but we really appreciate all of you guys, regardless of your contribution. If you are able to contribute $10 and up, we're going to read off your name on the show every week, and if not, you'll be in the credits for sure on the show. And if you can't afford to support us financially, or you're already supporting multiple other content creators, we understand. We really just want your help sharing the show and to join.
Subscription and sell to us instead.
Or you can ditch that. But seriously, if you're not a part of our Discord server, definitely join the Discord server, and come be a part of the community. We'd love to be able to see some of you guys at PRGE. If you can come out in 2 weeks, we're going to be at PRGE. It's going to be a blast.
September 27th through 29th, I think.
27th through the 29th. We're doing a panel on Saturday. which is going to be amazing. That's at
4 p.m., I think,
4
right?
p.m. on Saturday. Yep. And I think we're going to join Koralik for his Adam for his panel as well. Or
I like that. My favorite.
How do you say it? Koralik? So anyway, yeah. So we're gonna be joining Adam for his panel as well. At least I believe that's the plan. Talking about stuff.
Figure it out for like an hour.
Yeah, and then we're also gonna be running a huge Sega lounge, so that's gonna be fun too. And we have a lot of fun stuff planned.
The Astro Lounge.
If
it's
folks,
it's like that album from Smash Mouth, except good.
Shadow Mask was like almost gonna be there, but then it fell through. I don't know, but I was really looking forward to seeing him, and maybe next year, you know. But if anybody's able to come out and make it, that would be great. We'd love to see you, and we'll definitely try to do our best to cover the event and upload timely video and stuff like that. We got Nick, we'll have Peter, we'll have Pat, me, Ben, Seven Shades will be there, Sega Steve's gonna be there, A Murder of Crows, and
I'll be
multiple
back
other
home
people.
holding down the fort on
Dan
the
will be,
website.
yes, Dan will be back home trying to do a Shiro show and being very annoyed at us walking the show floor with lots of noise, and he'll be like, "Can you hear me? I promise we'll do better, Dan. We will do better for Shiro
You
show."
can promise that, but that doesn't mean it's going to happen.
We're gonna try. I'm gonna try to like have a plan for Shiro show, so it's
I like
not
the one we
just
did last time. We had like 50 guest appearances.
yeah.
And 2022 we did that where it's like we got who was that Sonic dude? Game Apologist? Is that it?
Oh yeah, Nick, Game Apologist. Yeah,
Nick. He was on there. We got Ian Ferguson from the Two podcast on there.
Right. Yeah, it was fun.
It's really funny.
It was fun. Yeah, we'll try to do some cool stuff. But anyway, yeah, thanks for everybody for joining us. We ended up with 53 people in the chat. I think we were at somewhere in the high 60s at the height of the stream.
We got over
so
70.
We got over 70. Okay, well, hey, at least 53 people stuck around to the end. Thank you, everybody. And this has been Saturn Dave, Dan Thrax, and Trainoco or Trainoco. Is it Trainoco or Trainoco? Trainoco. Okay. Reminding
all
you.
These years, you're just finding out.
I always say Trainoco.
He met Adam Korlick like 5 times, and he just asked him to pronounce his name. So
yeah. Just an off night for you on the pronunciation.
It's an off night. Yeah, it really is. Reminding you that you must play Sega Saturn. Until next time.
You must.
We'll catch you later.
Already.
Bye.
Dang, I didn't get the comment.
セガサターンしろ